Hello learners. During our previous couple of lectures, we have discussed the concept of errors, the way these are located and the process of rectification of errors when ledger accounts are yet to be closed. In our today's lecture, we are going to learn the way errors are rectified after the ledger accounts have already been closed. Let us begin with the same. In a situation when ledger accounts have already been closed and balances of various ledger accounts have already been transferred on trial balance, there are two possibilities. One, trial balance is in agreement, that is the total of both the sides of trial balance is same, and second, the trial balance is not in agreement, that is the total of the both sides does not tally. Recall that when the total of both the sides of a trial balance does not tally, the difference is placed in suspense account. I hope you remember that a suspense account is a temporary account which is created for the purpose of completing the trial balance for the time being, so that errors can be located and rectified. In this situation, journal entries are passed for rectification of the located errors. As these entries are meant for rectifying the located errors, these are termed as rectification entries. As soon as all the errors are located and rectified, total of both the sides of suspense account gets tallied and it automatically gets closed. For the purpose of rectifying errors in this manner, these steps are followed. First, you are required to identify the accounts which are affected by errors. Then, the amount of error related with each of the concerning account is to be calculated, and finally, rectification journal entry or entries are to be passed. Let us understand this process of rectification with the help of some examples. Initially, we will use the same set of examples that we considered during our previous lecture to rectify the errors before closing the ledger accounts. This will help you understand the difference in the rectification process in two different situations, that is rectification before closing of ledger accounts and after closing of ledger accounts. Our first example was purchase book is undercasted, that is less totaled by rupees 900. Recall that during our previous lecture we understood that as the error is a totaling error and is related with a subsidiary book, it has affected one account only, purchase account. Further, I hope you remember that the effect of this error is finally transferred from purchase book to purchase account. Further, during the previous lecture, we understood that as undercasting errors decrease the total of the connected book, that ultimately results in decrease of total of connected side of related ledger account. In our case, as the error is related with purchase book, this will result in decrease of debit side of total of purchase account by rupees 900, as the basic nature of purchase book or purchase account is debit, and it increases with posting on the debit side and decreases with the posting on the credit side. So, our rectification entry is expected to increase the total amount of purchase account by rupees 900. As the basic nature of purchase account is debit, so you are required to debit the purchase account in the rectification entry. As only one account is affected by this error and a minimum of two accounts are required to pass a journal entry, the other account will be suspense account. So, the connected rectification entry will be purchase account will be debited for rupees 900 and suspense account will be credited for rupees 900. That means, purchase account debit to suspense account. Note here that as the error has decreased the total of debit side of purchase account, that is total purchase by rupees 900, the rectification entry is expected to increase the total purchase by rupees 900. We have rectified this error by placing the purchase account on debit side of journal entry, as the basic nature of purchase account is debit and it increases when debited, representing debit what comes in and decreases with credited. it implies that had the error been overcasting of the purchase book, rectification would have done by placing the purchase account on credit side in the rectification entry, resulting in decrease in total purchase. Let us have another example, the same previous one. Rent account was overcasted by rupees 10,000. I hope you understand that this error, also being a totaling error, has affected only one account, that is rent account. As this is an overcasting error, it implies that rent account has been wrongly over totaled by rupees 10,000 on the debit side, resulting in increase in total rent by rupees 10,000. This is with the assumption that overcasting has taken place on the debit side of the rent account, as the basic nature of rent account and expense account is debit. So, rectification entry is expected to decrease the total rent by rupees 10,000, as the basic nature of rent account is debit and it increases when debited, representing debit all expenses and losses, and decreases when credited. So, it will be credited in the rectification entry. Further, as we understand in the previous example, as only one account is affected, the other account will be suspense account. So, the required rectification entry will be suspense account debit to rent account. The amount is 10,000 rupees. I hope you understand. We have rectified this error by placing rent account on the credit side of journal entry, as the basic nature of rent account is debit and it increases with posting on debit side, representing debit all expenses and losses, and decreases with posting on credit side. It implies that had the error been undercasting, the rectification would have been done by placing the rent account on debit side of the journal entry, resulting in increase in total rent. Let us have more examples. Credit sales of rupees 50,000 to A Limited was omitted to be recorded. This is also an example from the previous lecture only. Recall that this error, being an error of total omission, has affected two accounts, that is sales account and A Limited account. We understood during the previous lecture that due to this error, not only total sales is under credited, that is decreased by rupees 50,000, but A Limited's account has been under debited by the same amount. It implies that our rectification entry must credit the sales account by rupees 50,000 and debit A Limited's account by 50,000. Understand that as one account is to be debited and one account is to be credited, and the concerned amount of these two accounts is also same. So, suspense account will not figure out in the rectification entry. So, the related rectification entry will be A Limited account debit to sales account, the amount being 50,000 each. If you closely observe this rectification entry, you will understand that this entry is exactly same as to the entry passed at the time of credit sale of goods to A Limited. It implies that in case of errors of total omission, the rectification entry will be exactly same to the original entry, and that would have been passed had the transaction been properly recorded. But the same will not be in case of errors of partial omission. Now, let us have more examples. Let us say rupees 50,000 paid to Kamal has been wrongly posted to Kamala's account. Obvious error. Kamal and Kamala appears very similar. So, but obvious that this error may take place. Reading this transaction, I hope you are clear that ledger posting has been done in a wrong account, that is in Kamala's account in place of Kamal's account. As this is an error of posting in a wrong account, it will not affect the total of trial balance. These points will make you clear about the rectification entry required to correct the false effect of this error. As Kamal was receiver of rupees 50,000, his account was to be debited by rupees 50,000. Recall the debit the receiver rule. I hope you remember, debit the receiver is rule for personal accounts, which has not been so debited. So, Kamal's account is required to be debited in rectification entry. As Kamala was nowhere in picture and his account has been wrongly debited in place of Kamal, so Kamala's account is required to be credited in rectification entry. so as to nullify the effect of wrong debit. As one account is to be debited and one account is to be credited and the amount concerning both the accounts is same, suspense account is not required in rectification entry. So, the resulting rectification entry will be Kamal's account debit rupees 50,000 to Kamala's account rupees 50,000. You shall note here that when the committed error is posting in a wrong account, like in Kamala's account in place of Kamal's account, it is assumed that the posting has been done on the correct side and of correct amount. Further, it is also assumed that the other posting, that is credit posting in cash account in an example, to be correct. In normal course also, errors of cash account are not to be assumed and are required to be clearly informed, because it is the normal practice of every business to verify the closing cash balance on daily basis. Let us have more examples. Rupees 15,000 received from Sanjay Brothers has been posted to the debit of its account. This is a hidden error as it seems to be a piece of information only. But if you read this information carefully, you will understand that Sanjay Brothers being giver of money, its account is to be credited, which has been wrongly debited. Recall credit the giver rule for personal accounts. Now, I am sure that you have understood that Sanjay Brothers account is to be credited in journal entry. I hope you also understand that this error is affecting only one account, that is Sanjay Brothers account. The other account in the entry will be suspense account in this case. What is more important to understand here is that Sanjay Brothers account will be credited for the amount double the amount of error. The reason for this is that as 15,000 has been wrongly debited in Sanjay Brothers account, so rupees 15,000 credit is required to nullify the wrong debit effect, and rupees 15,000 credit is required to give the required credit effect of the transaction in Sanjay Brothers account. So, the rectification journal entry will be suspense account debit rupees 30,000 to Sanjay Brothers account rupees 30,000. Let us say one more example. Let us say sales return of rupees 3,000 has been wrongly recorded in sales book. This is an error in subsidiary book. I hope you remember that each subsidiary book except for cash book and journal proper has only one amount column and transaction of one nature only, that is either debit or credit, are recorded in each book. Recall that sales book, purchase return book and bills payable book records transaction of credit nature only. Similarly, purchase book, sales return book and bills receivable book records transaction of debit nature only. Further, recall that during previous lecture, we understood that errors of subsidiary books are by default transferred in respective ledger accounts, as the total of subsidiary books are periodically transferred to respective ledger accounts. I hope with this you understand that due to this error, sales account has been wrongly credited in place of debiting sales return account. So, in our rectification entry, sales account shall be debited so as to nullify the effect of wrong credit, and sales return account shall also be debited to give the due effect. As both these accounts will be debited, suspense account will be credited. So, the rectification entry will be sales account debit rupees 3,000, sales return account debit rupees 3,000 to suspense account rupees 6,000. Now, let us analyze this entry. Sales account has been debited by rupees 3,000 as it was wrongly credited by rupees 3,000 and was to be nullified. Sales return account has been debited by rupees 3,000 as it was originally so required, which was left due to error. As both the affected accounts are to be debited in the rectification entry, so suspense account will be credited by rupees 6,000. Let us have some more example to make you further clearer on this issue. Let us say sales return of rupees 4,550 rupees by A Limited has been posted to its account as 4505, that is 4,505 rupees. This is an error of transposition of figures. If you closely analyze this error, you will understand that transposition errors are also as same as errors of undercasting or overcasting. I hope you understand that this being a self-written transaction, A Limited's account was to be credited by rupees 4,550 rupees. As in this case, rupees 4,550 is written as rupees 4,505. It is as good as undercasting of A Limited's account on credit side by rupees 45. That is the difference of 4,550 and 4,505. Putting it simpler, A Limited's account has been credited by rupees 4,505 in place of rupees 4,550. So, rectification entry is expected to increase the credit side of A Limited's account by rupees 45. Hence, A Limited's account should be credited in the rectification entry. As this error has affected only one account, that is A Limited's account, the resulting rectification entry will also involve suspense account and will be suspense account debit rupees 45 to A Limited's account rupees 45. Now, let us have more example. Let us say the total of sales written account rupees 7,45,962 has been transferred to the next page as rupees 7,54,962. This is an error of wrong carry forward of figures. If you closely analyze this error also, you will understand that errors of wrong carry forward of figures are also as same as errors of undercasting or overcasting. As in this case, rupees 7,45,962 is carried forward as 7,54,962. It is as good as overcasting of sales written account by rupees 9,000, that is the difference of 7,54,962 and 7,45,962. Putting it simpler, debit effect in sales written account has increased by rupees 9,000. So, rectification entry is expected to decrease the debit side of sales written account by rupees 9,000. Hence, sales written account should be credited in the rectification entry. As this error has affected one account only, that is sales written account, the resulting rectification entry involving suspense account will be suspense account debit rupees 9,000 to sales written account rupees 9,000. Now, let us have last example, which is a different kind. This will make you further clearer. Let us say rupees 5,000 paid on installation of a newly purchased machine has been debited to repairs account. This is also a hidden error, as apparently everything is in order, but if you closely analyze, you will understand that this is an error of principle. Being amount paid for installation of newly purchased machine, it was to be debited to machinery account and not to repairs account. Although this error will not affect the total of trial balance, rectification is required. Let us analyze this error and then pass the rectification entry. As machinery account was to be debited by rupees 5,000, which has not been so debited, so it is required to be debited in the rectification entry. As repairs account was nowhere in picture and has been wrongly debited in place of machinery account, so repairs account is required to be credited in rectification entry so as to nullify the effect of wrong debit. As one account is to be debited and one account is to be credited and the amount concerning both the accounts is same, suspense account will not come in picture. Resulting journal entry will be machinery account debit rupees 5,000 to repairs account rupees 5,000. With these examples, you can conclude that errors of undercasting and overcasting, errors of wrong carry forward and wrong brought forward, errors of transposition of figures and errors of posting on wrong side of correct account are of similar nature and normally affect one account only. Hence, suspense account appears in rectifying entry on the opposite side. You can see example 1, 2, 5 and 6 for this. When ledger posting is done in correct account but on wrong side, the rectification entry is passed for the double amount. See example 5. If an error is relating to recording of a transaction in wrong subsidiary book which is of opposite nature, for example, sales wrongly recorded in sales return book or purchase book, the account related to both the books will appear on one side of rectification journal entry and suspense account will appear on the opposite side of the rectification entry. You can see example 6 for this. When a ledger posting is done in wrong account but on correct side, the two accounts are affected for same amount but for opposite sides. So, rectification entry is passed using these two accounts and suspense account will not appear in rectification entry. You can see example. Until unless clearly informed, we do not assume errors in posting of opposite account related with the transaction. This applies for cash account as well. By this, I hope you are clear with the process of rectification of errors when ledger accounts have already been closed. In our next lecture, we would discuss the remaining aspect of rectification of errors. Till then, have a great learning. Thank you.